Hi everyone, it's been a while since I've posted a video. I have been quite busy focusing on myself and my home and creating this, my little piece of heaven on earth, my little sanctuary. My understanding is that by sharing some of my personal experiences with you and my personal journey, that it might help some of you in your journeys, in your experiences, in finding your faith and muddling through things and looking for the answers. So I don't want to talk too much about my personal background and bore you with all those details. I continued over throughout my life to attract relationships where there was drug abuse or alcohol abuse by the other person. And I kept asking myself, why do I keep attracting this to myself? Why do I keep attracting relationships where the other person is a drug addict or an alcoholic? And I finally came up with the answer in a year, maybe 2 years ago. And I don't know that it's the entire answer, but it is definitely part of the answer. And that is, I attracted those relationships into my life so that I would learn how to be in my joy, to be in my power, even though I was in those relationships. That to be able to create my reality, even though the person I might be sharing my reality with had a different reality. It it was a lesson in letting go of trying to control others to fit into my reality. So I don't really know how else to explain it except that, and maybe that's because I haven't given it a lot of thought, since it's a fairly new revelation and one that I was just like, oh, okay, that makes sense, and let it go because I was comfortable with the understanding. And the understanding is kind of like, we are all about creating our own realities. And we want these nice, peaceful, beautiful realities to live in sanctuaries, where everyone is loved and protected. But unfortunately, the rest of the world isn't going to see it the same way that we do. It's like, um, my mother and my sister-in-law once said to me, many, many years ago, I was getting ready to go to the museum or to see a movie by myself. And they said to me that they wished I had a boyfriend that I could do that with, that I could go to the movies with or go to the museum with. And my mother said, you're such a pretty young lady, and you're so smart, and you could be with a doctor or a lawyer, or the regular mother talk. And my sister-in-law said, we just want you to be happy. And I looked at them and I said, it was kind of nonplussed, but I understood where they were coming from. They wanted me to be happy according to what they considered happiness to be. And what they considered happiness to be was to be in partnership, to have a relationship with a man who was successful and handsome and treated you like a diamond. And so I looked at them and I smiled and I said, thank you. I know where you're coming from. I know what you're saying. But maybe my version of happiness isn't the same as yours. I enjoy my company. And I was in my 20s at that time. And I told them, I enjoy my company. I enjoy going to the movies by myself. I enjoy going to the museum by myself. I enjoy doing many things by myself because I enjoy my own company. I don't need a man or anybody else there in order to keep me company so that I'm happy. My happiness, my definition of happiness is not the same as yours. They were both floored and never pestered me about it again because obviously I made sense. My definition of happiness is not the same as theirs. It's probably not the same as yours. So, what do we do then if we are trying to create our joyful, happy, peaceful realities, but we are sharing those realities with people who don't hold the same views that we do, who don't define happiness the same way that we do? Do we try to control them and make them live their lives according to what we define as happiness? So that's an issue of control. That's where we feel like we need to control what's happening around us and in other people's lives in order to make our reality the happy, joyful, peaceful reality that we want. So I attracted relationships with people who were drug addicts or alcoholics, primarily alcoholism. And it's been in my life since I was a little girl. What I learned from all of that and finally recognized just a year or two ago, was that I don't need to control other people and their lives, even if they're sharing in my reality. I can still have my sanctuary and my peaceful, beautiful, joyful reality, even though I'm sharing it with somebody whose version of happiness is getting drunk, or whose version of happiness is getting high. That's fine. I can still have my own peaceful, joyful reality. So that's one of the reasons, if not the only reason, I'm sure there's other reasons in there, that I kept attracting drug addicts and alcoholics, primarily alcoholics, into my relationships, was so that I could learn how to be comfortable with them in my reality while I was creating my peaceful reality. So you learn different ways of dealing with those situations and adjusting your actions and reactions so that, for instance, the guy that I'm with right now, my boyfriend, who I love dearly, but he very much enjoys his Captain Morgan and Cokes, especially after work. And he usually doesn't know when to stop. But God bless him, he is a good soul. He is a good man. And he has never once treated me wrong. And I have learned much from my relationship with him. But when if and when, I should say when, it doesn't happen often, but if and when he gets to that point where he's had too many cocktails and I can no longer handle the energy, I remove myself from it. And I put myself into a space like my she shed, my cabin, that he provided for me, so that I can then become comfortable again, take my deep breaths, recenter, and refocus on myself and not on him. So all of that to say, and I guess that's what this video is supposed to be about, is about how do we create our realities, our sanctuaries, in the midst of the chaos that is all around us right now, where nobody agrees with each other, and everybody is trying, almost everybody is trying to control the other person and make them think, see, and feel the way that they do, because everyone thinks that what they believe is the truth and the only truth, and that if we don't follow the other person's way of thinking or their way of living, then the whole world is going to collapse. Well, the point is to create your reality. And when you find that you are in company with people who do not hold the same vision that you do, and it becomes tumultuous, chaotic, and uncomfortable, then it is up to you to remove yourself from that person's energy long enough for you to recenter and to find your balance so that you can continue creating your reality. It is not for you to control them so that they will fit into your reality. If you are in a situation where it is abusive, you might very seriously want to consider getting out of it so that you can be physically safe as well as emotionally and mentally, psychologically safe. So it is difficult for us to build ourselves up to a point where we can become creators of our realities if we are constantly being pushed down, if we are constantly being shut down. The current relationship I'm in, even though he really likes to drink, he never shuts me down. He never puts me down. He never makes me feel less than. He never calls me names. He doesn't abuse me in any way, shape, or form. So the way that he is in relationship with me, the way that he loves me, is to allow me to be who I am and to encourage me to be more. So with that said, I know this is getting long, but I need to put this in there as well. One of my very first relationships that I was telling you about before, the abusive relationship, and he was an alcoholic and he was a drug addict and he was physically abusive. Put me down all the time, beat me down, black and blue marks, beat me with a broom. When I finally tried to break away from him, he broke into the flat that my sister and I were living in. It came straight through the living room window because we lived on the first floor, just busted right through it. And that's a story in itself that I will tell you, because everybody that I've told it to, their jaws just dropped and they were amazed that I made it out of it. And anyhow, so put 27 stitches in my head that day. It ended up in the Milwaukee Journal newspaper because it was so violent. And the authorities had to get involved, and I was put into the witness protection program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm telling you from firsthand experience, I know how difficult it can be to get out of those situations. We are conditioned, battered women syndrome. We become conditioned to stay in those situations, and it becomes very difficult to get out of it, especially if you have young children or even animals that are also dependent upon you and being able to take care of them, and you're only used to taking care of them in that relationship, even if that relationship is severely abusive, physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically. So I'm here to tell you that how important it is to get out of those situations, because it is extremely difficult to rise above them and to reach your full potential as a human and spiritually while you are continuously and consistently and constantly being beaten down. The only way that you are going to rise above that is to find a way out of it. And whether that is, I went to a battered women's shelter and I used their services twice to get away from him. And the first time I ended up going back to him. And the second time, I knew that I had to leave state. So I purchased a bus ticket on the Greyhound bus to go to Colorado because I knew from Wisconsin, because I knew if I did not get far away from him, I was eventually going to go back to him because it was a habit, it was an addiction. And so I knew I had to remove myself as far as I could. And I get on the bus, on the Greyhound bus, and I buy a one-way ticket, and I opened a romance novel, and I made myself read it until I hit Cheyenne, Wyoming. And I was 20 or 21 years old at the time. And when I did it that way because I knew that in those days you could exchange your Greyhound bus ticket to go back if you stopped soon enough. So Cheyenne, Wyoming was past the halfway mark, so I could not turn it in for a return trip back to Wisconsin. And so when I got to Colorado, I found a job and I went on with my life and I was doing really well. And then some medical issues arose and I went back to Wisconsin and I ended up back with him again. I was stronger now. I knew myself better, but I still ended up back with him. Sometimes I still have dreams, even now, 40 years later, I still occasionally have dreams about being back with him. And I am so upset with myself in those dreams that I have gone back to him, and I feel dirty. But the point in saying all that is that I did not start to grow, to flourish, to really understand who I am until after I left that relationship. And then a few years after that, I got into another relationship that was abusive, but it wasn't physically abusive. It was just emotionally and psychologically abusive. And he wasn't an alcoholic. He was just a drug addict, And it was my lesson. They brought me those lessons. Lo and behold, many, many years later, I was able to see through visions and dreams why I was with them. And I had very deep karmic ties with both of these guys. And one was in an intimate relationship. That was my ex-husband. And then the other one, who was the drug addict, that our past life, we were brothers. We were Native American. And we lived in southern Arizona, which explained why Arizona always felt like home to me. In that lifetime, I believe we were Apache, but I was a shaman, and I was looking for peaceful resolution with the white man, and he was dead set against peaceful resolution. And so he took off. He left the family. He left me, and ended up yelling out after him, trying to get him to come back. And his name translated as wind into the English language. Anyway, so both emotionally and physically abusive relationships that I had with those two guys, there were karmic ties. I actually had 3 such relationships, and the third one was also karmic ties, but the third one happened much later in life, after I'd already started my awakening process. And that relationship was to help me to understand the Christ consciousness much better. So perhaps one day I will go into deeper details with those relationships, but I want to keep this short. So I want to bring it all back to creating our own realities. And while we're doing that, we are sharing our lives with people who do not necessarily have the same vision for their lives that we have for ours. What makes them happy is not what makes us happy. We find our happiness in different ways. You have two choices. You can either choose, actually three choices. You can either choose to live in their reality in order to keep the peace. You can choose to live in only your reality and totally remove them from your lives so that they don't poison you and your reality and your thought process and your feelings, and either be alone or perhaps find a new family or a new group of people who will share your vision of happiness. Or you can learn to let go of control and how to remove yourself from their energies when you begin to feel depleted or incapable of dealing with them in particular moments, and still continue to create your own reality. That's the way that I choose to do it. And the reason I choose to create my reality of happiness and enjoyment, to create my sanctuary, while allowing people in my life that do not share the same viewpoints, that do not share the same vision of happiness. I choose to create my reality with them in my lives because I still want to share my life with them, and because they're interesting, and because I love them, and because I'm strong enough to do it, because I am strong enough to say, I don't need to control your life in order to build mine. I don't need you to conform to what I believe happiness is in order to be happy, in order for me to create my reality. And hopefully, most of you will be able to do the same thing, to build your sanctuaries, to create your realities of love and peace and happiness and joy, while still allowing the people who won't conform to the way that you enjoy your life. The people who say, yeah, no, I still want to go out and get high, I still want to get drunk, yeah, my political beliefs are still different. Not a big deal. You go do your thing, I'm going to do mine. I really don't want to step into your world. Probably not ever. Maybe once in a while I might dip my toe in your world. But yeah, I really don't want to spend much time there. But you're welcome to come into my world, into my sanctuary, anytime that you like. And I will welcome you with open arms and love you. And I will share the beauty, the happiness, and the peacefulness of my sanctuary, of my world. As long as you respect it. And if you don't respect it, then I'm going to say goodbye to you until the time comes where you say, I understand, Carol. You can live the way that makes you happy. And I will not try to force my vision of happiness on you. And then you can come back into my life. And then you can share my sanctuary with me again. So I hope that that helps a lot of you, especially during these times, because there is so much division in our world right now. And everyone, nearly everyone, is trying to conform other people, trying to get other people to see what it is that they see, what it is that they believe. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter which political side is dark and which one is light, because in the end, I'm telling you, it's all going to play out. You are not, as a single individual, are not going to change the divine plan that has been put into place a long, long time ago. And it's been put into place in order to allow certain things to play out and for people to wake up to who they are and to their own spiritual connection with the divine. The only way that that starts to happen is if those of us who have some understanding of what divine truth is, not ego truth, but divine truth, those of us who have some concept, some understanding of what divine truth is, if we go about living that truth the best that we can while not trying to control others. And then as we build our realities and our sanctuaries and we allow the others to participate in it when they are ready, then they will begin to feel that. So somebody will come to my home and they will feel my sanctuary and my reality and the love and the peace. The Cinderella moment it's what my boyfriend calls it, Cinderella, because I have, I pointed out to him the other day, I have feral cats who are living here and are very safe and are slowly becoming, adjusting to human contact. I have my horses, I have my dogs, I have my indoor cats, I have the neighbors' dogs who come over, I have bunny rabbits who live here, all the birds. So my boyfriend said he was waiting for a bird to land on my shoulder and he was going to start calling me Cinderella. Well, the other day there was a bird in the barn that was flying around tweeting at me. So I told him about that. And then the hummingbird, probably two different ones, I don't know, but twice a hummingbird came up to me and just flew in front of my face and just stayed there buzzing at me. And I was like, hi, little hummingbird. The rabbits, I can say hi to them and walk right past them and they don't run away. They stop and they stay still, but they don't run. They know I'm not a threat to them. But so people can come to my home and they can experience that peace, that serenity, the magic that I have built into my sanctuary, that I have been focusing on, because this is an important time for us to do that. And then hopefully they will take a piece of that away with them, that feeling, that memory, and they want to do that with their life. And so I'm telling you, the way to do it and to share it is by letting go of the ego's need to control others, to make people conform to what your vision of peace on earth is like. So with that said, I want to tell you just briefly what has been going on, and then I'm going to direct you to somebody else's YouTube channel. So what has been going on, and I thought it was just a me thing, and then I realized, which was one of the reasons why, so I've been focusing on my own reality, my own little sanctuary, creating it, putting my love, my energy into it, building it. And I thought it was just me, because I came to understand that this is what I was doing, that is exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I wasn't supposed to be dividing my attention, all of my love and my thoughts and my energy. And it still needs much more work, but that's where my focus was supposed to be, and which is the reason why I had nothing left to make videos. So I thought it was just me. And then I came to recognize that many of my YouTube friends, my other channels who produce similar content to mine, that they weren't producing as much content either. They were producing more content than I was, but not as much as they used to. And shout out to Yara. But then I come to find out that they too had been putting focus on their realities and creating their sanctuaries. And so as I pondered that, the understanding that I got, the message that I got, was that there were many of us that were doing exactly that. That there were many of us who have been focusing our energy on our homes, on our own little sanctuaries. What we have been doing is we have been creating our own little piece of heaven on earth. We have, and when enough of us have done that, that energy is going to coalesce. It's going to come together, and it's going to make it stronger and easier for other people to begin to feel that energy and to start doing the same. It's like the 100th monkey syndrome, if anybody's heard of that. And it's where what actually happened, this is a scientific thing somewhere, but they discovered that so many monkeys learned how to, I don't know, it was crack an oyster shell or something, or on one island, and they had nothing to do with the main coast or the main island or whatever. But when the X amount, like the 100th monkey learned how to do it, then all of a sudden the monkeys on this other island where there was no connection, there's an ocean or whatever that separates them. And you can probably Google that, the 100th monkey syndrome or something like that. So what that is that it's like it reaches mass consciousness level. So that when so many organisms learn something, that energy flows over into the rest of the species consciousness. And they know it. They begin to feel it. They begin to do it. So that's what my understanding of what's been going on with so many of us. If you've been feeling like a nesting kind of energy and creating your own little sanctuary and focusing on that and pulling your focus away from it doesn't feel right. That's all you want to do is just nest and create this beautiful home. That's because we are creating our own little pieces of heaven on earth. And when when enough of us have done that, then it's going to coalesce. All that energy is going to come together, and we create that 100th monkey syndrome, where the energy flows over into mass consciousness, and others can then begin to feel it and do it as well. So, with that said, Michele Duque, I think I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but I'll put a link to it in the description box to her channel. I think it's somewhere near the middle of her video. I will link the video. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll link the video with the time code to this particular element of what I am discussing right now about creating your own sanctuary and a little piece of heaven on earth, because I really like the way she explains these things. It makes it very easy to understand. So anyhow, when I saw her video, Michele, I don't know if you look at my channel anymore or not, but if you do, hi there, sister. But when I saw that, her explain that part of her video, it was proof positive of what I had been given to understand, that others were doing the same thing. And that the reason why that we were doing it was so that we would create this level of energy that would reach into mass consciousness. So if you're focusing on your home and your sanctuary, your piece of heaven on earth, continue doing that. Don't feel bad that that's where your focus is, and that you're not doing other things that might require your attention also, because your sanctuary is what's important right now. Your piece of heaven on earth. It is what is going to keep you safe in the times to come, and what is going to help all of us propel humanity forward into higher dimensions and spiritual understandings that will bring more peace on earth. So there's more that I want to say, but I'm going to end it right there. As usual, any questions, put them in the comments below. There might be, a week or two in between videos again. I'm not fully finished focusing on my sanctuary, but I am trying. It's lifting where I can get back out and start doing more videos. So I will talk to you guys again soon. Much love, many blessings.